Hello, Ecommerce friends and listeners. I'm happy to host Justus Klover-Schlotfeld, CEO of NEX. NEX is a cross-border SaaS platform that connects technology providers, industry experts, and international retailers. Hey, Justus, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Tim, thanks very much for having me.
Wow,
Good.
we're going to
How's your week
discuss.
starting?
Okay, starting well. Always great to start the week with the podcast episode, right? And obviously, with an expert like yourself, we're going to talk about cross-border logistics, all the exciting stuff that make such an impact on profitability, which is such a hot topic, these days. So, Justus, let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do at NEX.
Sure. Well, I'm Justus, as you just mentioned, leading the niche e-commerce experience, NEX, globally headquartered in London, UK. It's so much more than just an open SaaS platform, as you just mentioned. But basically, we see it more as a global acting ecosystem for cross-border e-commerce. But I will give you a more detailed intro in a bit. Basically, what we do is we're providing, as you rightly said, being the gateway provider between tech and logistics and retail, having everything from one single source, acting globally. At the moment, we're covering 99 countries, and that fills us with a lot of pride, obviously.
Wow. So what was the vision, for NEX? Obviously, you are a group of international experts, but also combine technology with
Right.
with brands and retailers. It's kind of an ecosystem or a hub for a lot of things. So tell us more about what drove this initiative.
The idea. Well, I think it's like with with pretty much every entrepreneur, right? So when I've ran into my co-founder Rudy Bertie, who has his background in customs clearances and in cross-border customs, same as I do it from the past. We consulted very much the same people around the world, big freight networks, big freight companies that went into the e-commerce logistics side, and like it always is, we figured out we want to do something different, right? Something is missing out there, and we know that we can do it better. And then after Rudy sold his company, CCL Customs Clearance Limited, to the DPD Group, we decided it's the perfect moment to get started. And funnily enough, he in the beginning wanted me to have him as his first customer on NEX, but then we decided rather to do it together, and we teamed up with a third person, which is Christos Peru, who's the founder and CEO of the Neutral Air Partner Network, which is, at their case, the biggest neutral alliance in the air freight industry globally. And having that said, we wanted to start and give and value add, because there's a lot of freight networks out there, a lot of alliances, but they all missing something. And in our perspective, there was two things. One was the educational part. So we founded the NEX Academy, which I'm coming back in a bit to. The other one was that they were missing a technology platform that is really engaging between them, their potential clients, but also with the tech providers. So for us, it was very intense and essential to have what we think are the best-in-class technology providers on board, because there was no need to reinvent the wheel, right? It's already all there. You have a best-in-class tracking provider, you have a best-in-class insurance company, you have a best-in-class WMS provider, etc. So why not bringing them all together in one hub, and engaging them and giving our members access to that? And the benefit, obviously, for joining the alliance was from the very beginning that you already have a pre-vetted, process-taken experts inside the hub, where we and our experts as the consultants already made all the due diligence and background checks on. Right?
Wow.
So it will say, if you now need to, let's say you want to find a new tech provider for your WMS or your RMS system, you would usually go to an exhibition, you would search the internet, you would hear word out of mouth from your industry colleagues, but it's a nightmare. You first need to search for them, then you need to pay high integration fees, etc., etc. Here, all that work is already done, and all you need to do is integrate by a single API to the hub.
Amazing. So there is also the knowledge and the industry expertise that you guys are obviously providing. And I know you've built the company in like 4 major business units, right? So maybe we can talk about that.
Yeah, well, basically, in the beginning, it was not the case, but then it's as it always, as it sometimes is, the business grew so fast, and we got so many opportunities about collaboration that we thought, okay, we need to. Um, the demand is so big that we need to separate that into different business units. So, first and foremost, we have as the main foundation and pillar is the network itself, right? So it's based on the membership network model. We looking for different verticals and are limited for the membership for verticals in the certain countries. We'll say if you're a customs broker or if you're a fulfillment provider or you're handling returns or reverse logistics, then you can apply for that vertical to become a member in that certain country. But we only allow 2 per vertical per country to keep it limited and exclusive, right? So that's our core foundation. It works that by company size, means turnover and employees and your global presence, you pay a membership fee. And with that said, you're getting access to the membership to the alliance and sharing business of the other members, right? So it's like-minded. We're working under the code of ethics, etc. The second unit is obviously everything around the hub, where we're now concentrating on 3 different things. One is the open SaaS platform that allows you a fully integrated setup in your system. You can even use it as an ERP system if you want to replace your current one. The second one is the NEX Marketplace, which is basically like an app store, providing a gateway to our tech providers in there if you want to just use a light version or a single version of one of the tech solution providers. You can do that connecting via the NEX Marketplace. And the third one that will come, launched for at the moment is set for February 2025, is NEX Connects, which is basically a gateway program or a connector platform, if you want to, enabling freight forwarders that are not able to or not talented and experienced in handling e-commerce to book and create labels in the system of our members. So we'll say if I don't know ABC Logistics from Germany would like to offer B2C solutions but has no clue how to do it, our NEX Connect platform will enable them to do it, to book and ship them from anywhere to anywhere in the world with an own design label, etc. So that will be a big thing for us next year. The third business unit is the NEX Academy. That was originally founded because I was playing in a run of golf in Greece with a group of 3 freight forwarders, and one of them said, "Look, he's from Pakistan." And he said, "Look, I want to dive into the e-commerce world, but I don't have any clue how to do it, right? And I have a couple of issues here. One is there is no talented company that I can acquire in Pakistan, and if I want to get experts from the Western world or from China, they're simply not coming, no matter how much I offer them. So there's only one way, and that's to educate my own people how to do it, right? And to interact with the customs and with the government. And you need to help me with that." So that was the born hour of the academy, where we basically have 2 business units. One is we're providing with a group of consultants training sessions to our members to get trained, but also to outside freight forwarders to become a member of NEX in the end. So we're training them in different verticals, and whenever you get a certification, you can become a member of NEX in that vertical. And the second one is that we're going with our experts into the companies, into the members' company, and set up an academy in-house for them. That can be everything in training program from HR to dedicated e-commerce programs. But also now we're outwidening that to other forms of pharmaceuticals, of defense, because one of our shareholders is the Atom Group, and that is an international group of independent consultants from the freight and post industry. Yeah. And the fourth business unit, last but not least, is events. So we're doing our own events, multiple regional ones per year and one annual one, where we're bringing together purely C-level and VPs, depending on the company size that is attending, but it's purely dedicated to cross-border e-commerce. So that can be anything from postal, again, via customs, etc. But then also we're offering our members to exhibit on the major events around the globe, most of the times with the pavilion at the top spot. So the advantage lies on the table. We provide the complete concierge service, organizing the visa, organizing the booth setup, etc. So all you need to do as a member is to show up with your salespeople and do the sales, and the rest is taken care of by us. And that for a relatively small fee. So we're operating that at cost. And you get access to a premium spot at major events like I don't know, Manifest, Shop Talk, Retail Supply Chain Summit, these big events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. So you started with a gap that you identified in the cross-border supply chain logistics, and then you listened to partners and customers and develop all these business units, and you did it in a very agile way and very, very fast. So really nice and interesting. Well done. I guess you have more business units on your plate that are coming in the future because things are evolving so fast, and e-commerce. Yeah, it's such a huge industry, and obviously there are plenty of things that needs to be still discovered. I want us to take like a broader view to the topic of supply chains, logistics, cross-border today. What are some of the challenges and maybe opportunities facing global e-commerce these days?
Well, there's plenty, right? I mean, it really depends regional one, but I think obviously the biggest elephant in the room at the moment is the direct fulfillment from China done by the big marketplaces from China. Although we see a lot of growth in other regions like Southeast Asia in LATAM, but that's the dominating topic at the moment, right? But at the same time, as much as it's disrupting the supply chain and challenging carriers, likewise as logistics companies or fulfillment operators, it's also challenging the European or the American resellers and marketplaces. However, there's also a lot of opportunity there, right? So recently I spoke a lot to airlines, for example, who now developing into the e-commerce product sector, setting their own products up because they see themselves at the same spot now with the top integrators having the same enemy, which is the marketplace, dominating it from manufacturer towards direct to the end consumer. But the airlines have one additionally huge benefit, and that is that they're controlling the middle leg, right? So if they having the assets by owning the airplanes. But what they need, and that's why they're reaching out to alliances like us, is they need the local heroes in customs clearance as much as everybody else. So the bottleneck is always there, and it remains the customs clearances. And that is also another chance for which I see for growth at the moment. As you know, Turkey now started. There's a lot of other countries now coming after by lowering the de minimis, or taking them out completely just to protect their local fashion market or the local retail market, and of course to protect the customs system. And there is room and opportunities for those customs brokers, for those logistics companies that are keen and talented in doing customs clearances there. But also there's lots of opportunities for the retailers or the e-tailers, as I spoke to a couple of them in Germany and the UK recently. So the first ones are now starting to adopt to the business model from the Temu and Sheins of this world, and sending teams to China to talk to the manufacturers directly, doing direct fulfillment now as part of their product portfolio as well. And so you see, there's a lot of opportunities. But one thing is clear, that the main challenge, or you can only remain strong if you have control over your data and if you know how to use it. That's and that's where we see the biggest gap at the moment. And I don't know if you've seen that in the news, but we've recently been appointed as a thematic chapter rapporteur for e-commerce for the UPU, the Universal Postal Union. And the reason there is clear as well. They're seeking actively for help because they lost 50% of all their parcel volume during the last 3 years, right? 50%. And the reason for that is, in my view, simple. It's because of the lack of the usage of the data, because they do have all that data, right? And they're controlling 90%. They can reach 95% of the population worldwide on the last mile, and they They have done that for decades, so they know the data, they have it on hand. But the problem is they don't know how to use it, and they're not interacting with each other because they're all governmental owned. So now we will try to help them to make usage of the data, and at the same time connecting them with the local heroes that we have in country to collaborate between the private sector and the governmental institutions.
Yes, and you mentioned data, and it's so important. Obviously, it's getting more difficult to collect the data and every touch point. But again, what do you do with the data, and how do you analyze it and gather all those insights for a smarter decision? And I want to ask you about innovation in supply chain cross-border. How do you see the role of technology and innovation for the AI in this sector?
Yeah, it's essential. So, and I see two major things. One is predictions. So, learning from historic data, you can as easy say, okay, take the tracking example, for example, right? So, if I know that if we're looking on the cargo perspective, for example, then it's, I think, very essential to understand doing predictions. How possibly is it that you get a disruption in your supply chain? What can you do against it? When do you need to interact to they maybe be routed by air or by rail on another method? On the e-commerce sector, it's even more essential because time is everything at the moment. We see a trend towards sustainability that time is not so essential anymore, but the majority, 9 out of 10, want to have the product as soon as possible, right? It's, at least in the Western world. And so the time is essential. So any disruption and any prediction that the software can provide you with is very much essential. And the second big role is of where AI helps a lot is the classification, the whole customs process. So if you say the more data you have, and the better you can analyze it to speed up the customs process, because again, that's the bottleneck in my view in every cross-border action, then the faster you can route your product and the more efficient you can route it, right? And also the more beneficial. If you're thinking about being an importer, a retailer, or a dropshipper or whatever, you have always the challenge with the duties of imports that you may or may not have to pay, right? So if the technology can provide you with the prediction or with help on where to import certain goods into the EU, for example, or which inbound sector into the US or into any country really, where do you pay the less duties? Where's the highest chance to get a binding tariff information? Where's the highest chance to get the least controls of customs checkups or disruptions on the warehousing side at the port of the airport of arrival? All these things are now changing rapidly because with the use of AI, companies that have gathered all this data for years or even decades can now make uses out of that by finding out that within seconds what is the best way, right? In a shipping model, we have it now. We partnered up with a company from Israel, a technology provider, has a fantastic AI solution for bundling packages. So we'll say you are a retailer and you're selling your goods at the same time in multiple countries, the same product. Let's take this T-shirt, and you're selling that in the very minute that we're talking, you're selling 5 in Italy, 6 in France, 7 in Bulgaria, 5 in Austria, whatever, and they all having buyers from the same region. Let's say it's the US. And the software will tell you within seconds what is the best and most efficient way to bundle all these products within Europe to consolidate it and ship it out to the US for central import and having them all on one customs clearance import. And that is fantastic because years ago, or even 1-2 years ago, this was not really possible, right? And you had to rely on your logistics company, on their expertise and on their partners in country, etc. Now the technology is doing that for that. So if you're entering that via the NEX hub, for example, and you have the connection to your web shops, then you have within seconds an option to ship it. And that's and you get a final price already. And you can still choose on Express, more eco-friendly, or hopefully from next year also on or based on CO2 output completely. So then that will be another level basically.
Yeah. So obviously plenty of opportunity for digital transformation and taking just the technology layers to the next level in supply chain. How NEX helping retailers out there with these transformations?
Well, basically, as I just said, we're trying to be in the forefront of by speaking to, or first and foremost, by having connections and members to the real experts out there. And that's not only logistics company, but also the tech guys, right? So we have that in the payment sector, we have that in the tracking sector, you name it, in the insurance sector. This helps us to obviously provide the retailer already with what we think are the best-in-class technology providers out there. But not only that, we're doing then workshops, etc., throughout the academy to make analysis and help them. Where can you optimize your supply chain, right? What is it, or what are the markets that you want to grow and why? And how can we help you with the tech providers and the logistics part to achieve that goal? Because the e-tailer always has two problems. When he wants to enter a new market, he 9 out of 10 using the normal way, they're using a platform like Amazon or like Boohoo or Dress for Less or whatever, and entering in a new market. And they would use their logistics services because it's so easy, right? So if you give it to them using Amazon Global Logistics, for example, but they have two issues with that. One is the lack of visibility. They don't have a clue who's doing what in that logistics supply chain because they only see the brand of the marketplace, right? And the second one is they know they get ripped off. Because it's obviously that when they're using that service, they know that they're paying a high fee for that it's so easy and they're giving it all away. Right? And third, but not least, basically, if you want to say that as an additional problem, is most of the marketplaces even leave you alone with the customs bit, right? So if they say, okay, if you want to really import it, you need to set up as an importer of record. Here's our VAT company helping you with that, but it's basically they leave you alone with the brokerage. And joining NEX gives you really a neutral alternative to that, not only to the marketplaces, but also to the massive big integrators. And the integrators have seen that now, so they've the first couple of them reached out to us as well to see how can they partner, right? Because when we're leaving out the top 4, but engaging with number 5, 6, 7 on the list and building an alliance, they know that we have that there's coming a massive buying power around the corner, right? You could say it as a neutral wholesaler as well, because with the buying power of our members across the alliance, we're controlling so much volume that in around that alliance that that is also interesting for all the wholesalers out there and for the integrators. But the benefit for the e-tailer, to come back on that, is really to have a neutral alternative into new markets, and the decades of experience that the members have, that is really making the difference. Because if you work rather with a local hero in an alliance than working with your local freight forwarder or logistics company that has a global setup maybe, but you don't really have a touch point to that company in country, right? On us, you can see who's doing what, who's doing the pickup, who's doing the performing the middle leg, who's doing the customs clearance and fulfillment. And if you don't like the performance, you can choose an alternative, and that's the beauty with it, right? It's up to you as the freight owner to decide who's handling it and measure its performance. And that's what a lot of companies are shy for. They're joining our alliance because they do not want to share the data, but because we say, look, with the technology we're providing, we're also showing the performance of the single actors in the alliance, right? Because we want to be transparent to the cargo owner of the performance.
Interesting. So Justus, when you go and analyze, like effectiveness of supply chains, what are some of the matrices or KPIs you find most critical in managing e-commerce supply chain effectively?
Well, basically, it comes down, I think, to the customs part of it. So on entry into country on border is the most critical part of performance. But there we need to decide, we need to defer between the real B2C parcel clearance, or if we're looking into some areas in Europe, we're now looking into C2C options. We're looking in, obviously, from China, and D2C options. So we need to defer that, but that's the most critical part. If I can, I'm just telling you what I'm hearing from our bigger members. And the second part is the fulfillment part, because especially on the B stock material, it's very essential on the performance. Let's say you're tapping into the reverse logistics of e-commerce, right? And you're offering grading processes. Then let's take a classical example. We have a member that is sitting on a massive stock of phones that he's regrading and refurbishing, and then reselling them to a global world, or only in Europe, whatever the setup is. Then we see it more and more critical in two aspects of that. And one is the KPIs in terms of how fast and efficient are they processing the grading service and the pickup, etc. And so the whole reverse logistics cycle on returns. And then second of all, how good are they in really sending those out to fulfill direct to the end consumer again from their central warehouses. Mm-hmm. And that's very interesting because we're getting more and more of those companies, of the traders that are buying bigger B stocks, then grading them and reselling them. But they need to have a good performing fulfillment partner in multiple countries of the world if they want to sell on multiple auction platforms, right? Yeah. And that is essential. So we get a lot of requests saying, can you please measure the performance of a logistics fulfillment provider in Central Europe against the one in Middle East, against the one in South Africa, so that they can make predictions on how fast can I really sell my product again to the end consumer in that local market.
Yes. And obviously cross-border and international delivery, it's not only the freight issues or shipping or custom, there's a lot of legal issues involved, local entity adhering to local regulations and laws. And obviously I know that NEX, can provide great help in that. This is just making things fulfilled and to the complete challenges that are evolving. So Justus, I always ask my guests about work-life balance. I'd love to learn from you. What do you do outside of work to get, relaxed, unwind, and obviously create some, create some balance in your daily activities?
Yeah, well, definitely. It's so first and foremost, I do travel a lot, right? So when we're running a global alliance and a network, so in average, I think I'm away 170, 180 days a year from home. So that when I'm home, I'm trying really to be home, right? So then I'm doing a lot with the family, with my wife and kids. We do a lot of sports, so we're a very sporty family, loving all to play tennis. We're playing golf. We're going skiing in winter time, even though I'm living in the flat out north of Germany, but we're not going either to Scandinavia or to the Alps. And all kind of water sports is I like as well, as I'm living just a quarter away from the Baltic Sea. So it's in a nutshell, I'm trying to do as many sports and spending time outside with the family as I can.
Nice.
Other than that, my job, that's the life balance that I have. There's not much time left for anything else. It's basically that, but
it's obviously quality over quantity, right? We're spending time to make every second precious and spend time to be totally focused with the family. So that's a great tip. Great. Justus, final tips for retailers or e-commerce companies out there looking to expand globally?
Yeah. So I think first and foremost, multi-channel selling is the key, not only locally in Europe or the US, but also when you want to expand to a new market. Don't enter the market would be my advice. Don't enter it just with one marketplace, but take that money in hand and rather do at least 2 or 3 marketplaces to start with before you're launching your own web shop. But that's up to, I'm not an expert so much in the e-tail business. From a logistics perspective, try to measure, see who you're trusting, see to where you can find some alliance like us to find that working with local heroes that they know best, right? They always know better. You get a better customer service, and try to stay as neutral as possible, because then you really get the chance to control the supply chain. When it comes to a certain level, my advice would always be consult a consultant to see if at what stage is it worth to have an in-house logistics expert that can handle with the freight, or that can interact with alliances like us or with big integrators, right? Because it is at some point you need that, and you need to make that investment to have that resource in-house. So that's the only way that you can control the supply chain, because procurement is important, yes, and your head of sales is important, but don't underestimate the supply chain as such. So if ideally you would have a resource that is controlling and acknowledged in that is also handling the procurement part.
Yes,
that would be my advice. But stay hungry and look out for new markets, because it's on one leg you can't walk, right? So that would be my advice.
You know how they said about the marketing efficiency, marketing can give you growth, but efficiency supply chain give you profit, right? So it's really, really important, right. Top priority for any brand owner, any retailer, shareholder. It's definitely totally in the focus. So Justus, how people can find you and NEX?
Yeah, pretty much basically easily. It's nex-network.com. Online is the easiest way, but then obviously on LinkedIn, on any social network as well. That is there you can find us. Or if you Googling probably cross-border e-commerce solutions, neutral ones, you will find us as well. During different collab partners, we have a lot of collaborations with the UPU, with the RLA, the NRF, the Department of Trade, the British Chinese Chamber. For all these, we will all be seen on their web pages as well.
Great, Justus. So thank you so much for sharing with us your expertise. Really, hope the best for you, and good luck with those new ventures. And probably next time we'll meet, you will share more business units within NEX, right? So great. Keep on the innovation.
Maybe last but not least, obviously in 2 weeks is our big annual event. We've the registration is open a couple more days. I don't know when we're airing this one, but if someone wants to still register, please go on the website and register for OpenX. You will meet 200 C-levels from the e-com cross-border industry, best in class, and it's really worth the investment to come to Hong Kong.
Yes, thank you for sharing that final thoughts. Thank you very much, Justus.
Thank you, Eitan.